Hey everyone, this is Scott from Forgot to Grow Up. Welcome to our Star Wars The Clone Wars Season 7, Episode 9 Thoughts video. Just finished watching the latest episode of The Clone Wars on Disney Plus, and I'm just going to be sharing my general thoughts on the episode. In this episode, we start the beginning of the end. We're down to the last 4 episodes of The Clone Wars, and in this one we see Ahsoka and Anakin and Obi-Wan are temporarily reunited as she goes to them to help her in her, quest to try and help some Mandalorians reclaim Mandalore from Darth Maul or Maul. And so, yes, they were temporarily reunited in this one before the boys have to run off and start Revenge of the Sith. So I really enjoyed this episode. First starting off seeing this really big battle going on with Obi-Wan and the clones in the middle of it, and then Anakin coming in and being the Anakin we've grown to know and love throughout the Clone Wars, at least. And so we see him come in, be his arrogant self, and save the day. And I just really enjoyed that, just the way to start it off. And that's what I really liked actually about this season. Out of all the ones I can particularly remember of all the Clone Wars seasons, this one has felt like we've gotten the most kind of action, the most wars of the Clone Wars, if that makes sense. So I really enjoyed seeing the big action, seeing all the clones storming the droids and stuff like that. And then I like that this ends up tying into the Revenge of the Sith in a way, in that this episode in particular literally takes place hours, if not minutes before. I don't know how long it takes them to travel from point A to point B, but it is within a very short time frame between when this episode's happening and when the events of the Revenge of the Sith begin, because we hear the Anakin and we hear Obi-Wan explaining how that there's been an attack that the Separatists are attacking Coruscant, which is what's happening at the beginning of Revenge of the Sith, and that they haven't been able to contact or make contact with Palpatine. And again, beginning of the Sith, he's been captured by Grievous, which we all know is part of Sidious / Palpatine's plan. But I just still like that kind of very fun connection. One of these things that, again, if you're not, maybe if you're only just a casual Star Wars fan, which if you are, I don't know why you'd be watching a Clone Wars episode, but if you happen to be just a more casual Star Wars fan who just likes watching animated shows and didn't, quite pick up on that connection, it's still a fun one for those of us who, I don't want to say pay attention because it's very obvious, but those of us who actually remember what happens in each of the Star Wars. Because if you talk to some people, they couldn't tell you. They're like some laser sword fights and stuff like that, and you're like, you're not wrong, but but anyways, so yeah, I really enjoyed the tie-in. I like that that's the reason why we're going to be getting actually a little bit of the because the Clone Wars does kind of cross over into Revenge of the Sith, because Revenge of the Sith is when they're ending the Clone Wars. So I like that we're going to be filling in some of the gaps that happened into there, ever happened kind of in between the movie that we fully get to see. So this one obviously being a little bit just before, but yeah, so I just really like that. Really kind of a fun way of also them kind of explaining why Ahsoka's never been around, which is a fun thing besides just her not being a part of the Jedi Order anymore. It's also like, well, yeah, she couldn't have been around for the third one. She was busy going to hunt down Maul, and that's why Maul wasn't in the third one either, because he was busy running Mandalore. And so I just kind of it's just these fun little things that just make the nerd in me go so yeah, I really enjoyed that. So yeah, and another thing about this episode that was kind of fun, we see Ahsoka being greeted by everyone who's really excited to see her. They act like it's been super long, which it does seem to have been, because I noticed in this one in particular, she looks like more of a young adult at this point than like throughout this season. I feel like they were trying to, we've only gotten 4 episodes with her before, actually, but with during those 4, I felt they had aged her up a little bit from the last season, and between this episode and the last episode where she was off in the adventures, it feels like they aged her up just even a little bit more, and we get this kind of like I said, Anakin, and everyone's talking about how long it's been so long since they've seen them. I'm like, Time in Star Wars is just so confusing, and I get that's part of their storytelling device or storytelling, which is it being more serialized. You're able to pick out little things, and so but it does sometimes make it hard to track, especially since it is an animated character. So you're like, was I just not paying close enough attention? Is it a different animation style? Or did they make her taller? So it's just kind of a fun thing to notice and just to think about, like, well, what was the gap between when Ahsoka leaves the Jedi Order and when they're reunited in her? Because episode wise, it was 4 episodes of Ahsoka showing up between total episodes it was 8 between her leaving the Jedi Order and rejoining. If she did leave it at the end of last season or at the end of season 6, I'm pretty sure. I can't remember exactly, but I'm fairly certain she left at the end of season 6, not the end of season 5. I don't think so, unless I'm off. But even then, my point being, the timeline throws me off a little bit. But that's Star Wars for you a little bit. I know somebody's got it all written down and tracked somewhere, but for me, it's a little tough to track, like how big that gap is, how long they've gone without seeing each other. But anyways, that's not really that important. The important part was they're reunited. She gets a nice kind of welcome back by the clones who had painted their helmets to resemble her facial markings, which is one of those things in Star Wars. I'm always like, is that like a way they're born? Is that like, are they born with that, or is that like a thing they apply? Is it some kind of, it's one of those things that I think I have to do, and obviously I'm sure there's some kind of answer if I actually deep dove into a little bit, but it's one of those things that I think of and then never actually remember to go look up. But yeah, so it was a nice little nod that we see that the clone troopers painted their helmets to match it, which is the connection to have seeing the orange helmet we saw in some of the like trailers and the I think the first poster that they released for this upcoming season, which they released at Comic-Con, not last year, but I think the year before that. I think it was 2018 that they released, 2018 Comic-Con that they released that poster. And so that was fun to actually learn, and then it made me feel a little stupid that I was like, why didn't I connect that? Yeah, they painted it orange and it's got the same, why didn't I make the connection that was in honor to Ahsoka? It made me feel a little stupid, but it was cool at the same time. I like that they did. It was a fun little nod. I felt that they maybe should have balanced it out in some other way, maybe painted their pants or something. I'm not sure. I just felt it did feel a little like they looked a little bit like a lollipop with the orange sticking out on top of the white. Not that I mind. That's just my observation of it, at least. But yes, it was a fun little kind of nod, but it's just, for me, it was more of a, how did I miss that? Cool, but how did I miss that? So disappointed in you, Scott. So yeah, that was a fun little thing though to see them reunited. And then so this whole thing's about Ahsoka coming to them to ask for help with stopping Maul, but then they get interrupted. But Anakin has a good idea to promote Rex to commander and let him be in charge of a squadron that they then take to Mandalore, so that way, because Ahsoka's not part of the Galactic Republic Army or whatever anymore. And so I like that Rex got a promotion. That's always cool. Good for you, Rex. And then he's still able to go help Ahsoka in trying to stop Maul and that. So that was really kind of a fun little all right, that's a fun little way to get around this a little bit. And again, I think that's a way of where was Rex during Revenge of the Sith? Well, he was busy helping Ahsoka, which is one of those ones that I'm like, I can never keep which is terrible of me. But sometimes I have a little trouble keeping track of which of the clones were in the movies and which ones were in the shows. I think Cody is the one that crosses over, but I'm not sure, because again, I'm super bad with names, and it doesn't help that they're all clones. So so anyways, so that was a fun thing. And then before Ahsoka and Anakin part ways again, Anakin gives Ahsoka back her 2 lightsabers, and he's like, I've upgraded them a little bit, and they've got the blue crystals right now, the blue crystals right now. And so that was cool to see her get her lightsabers back, considering we spent the last 4 episodes with her not having lightsabers, which was cool too. Seeing her be a little more hand to hand, but it was cool to see that she gets them back to go fight Maul and being like, have those 2 lightsabers. Which I also find interesting that Anakin and Obi-Wan. Nobody else ever wants to have two lightsabers apparently, and I'm like, I would totally have one regular lightsaber and a short lightsaber, but I don't know if that's just me. Anyways, that was still fun to see. And then we end this episode off, the last chunk of this episode, which I thought we were going to end when this started, which is they start the attack on Mandalore, the beginning of the Battle of Mandalore. And so, again, I thought they were going to end the episode at that point, like as they're beginning the attack, which to me would have made a little bit of a sense, but we see the beginning of the siege and, Ahsoka and the clones and the few Mandalorians who are trying to take back Mandalore from Maul's rule, all attacking Mandalore, and we get this cool little like air battle that goes on, and then we see one of the things that I just love about the Clone Wars in particular and animation, animated Star Wars stuff, which is we get to see them just go a little over the top with Jedi stuff, which is Ahsoka, races Rex to the landing platform by jumping out of the ship and jumping from ship to ship and killing different the bad Mandalorians, and stuff, blowing up ships and all that badass stuff. And that scene just brought the biggest smile to my face, because I was just like, yeah, this is what I want. You guys are gonna, great way to end off this series, but I'm also like, I would have loved 7 more seasons of you guys just doing this, just having Ahsoka jumping around, and you never know, they still might bring some kind of Ahsoka animated series where we fill in those gaps of like where she went after the Jedi Order, in between, like maybe some of her adventures with the Mandalorians and stuff like that, or even after this season, or her adventures in between that and leading up to, Rebels, and then wherever she fits in, if she for sure is showing up in the Mandalorian, the Disney Plus show as well. So I just love getting more pieces to her puzzle. It is one of the things I keep meaning to start the comics, but they outpaced me a little bit. I can't read that quickly, Disney. Come on. So yeah, seeing the beginning of the battle is kind of fun, and seeing them, taking Mandalore and being able to, what seems like, take it pretty easily at first, but then we kind of realized that Maul had kind of set up a trap and was trying to lure Obi-Wan, who he thought would be the Jedi, to show up to, in this case, he thought it'd be Obi-Wan showing up and not Ahsoka. And so we end the episode with, Ahsoka being trapped by Maul and him being like, it was supposed to be, I was hoping for Obi-Wan. What are you doing here? And it's like, what kind of question is that, man? Okay. But anyways, that's where we end off the episode, and that is a fitting place, I should say, for it to end off, leading into the next part. So I really enjoyed this episode, just for like the really fun action we got throughout it, the kind of fun little nod to Revenge of the Sith, the fact that we're kind of filling in a little bit more of Revenge of the Sith, because it's almost like you're watching the battle of like them attacking Mandalore, and you can imagine in your head the beginnings of Revenge of the Sith happening. So I just really enjoyed this episode, and it's really fun, and I'm really excited for next episode to see some more lightsaber stuff, some more Jedi stuff, some more clones, some more all the fun stuff that the Clone Wars and Star Wars always has for us. So yeah, I really was excited for the next episode and the rest of the episodes, the last three more episodes to finish off the series, which is a little bittersweet, because I'm like, I love this show so much, I just want so much more of it, but we're also at the end of the Clone Wars, so can't really keep that going. But anyways, that's all my thoughts on this latest episode. Be sure to let me know in the comments below what you thought about this episode. Thanks again for joining me today. Sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and have a good one.